1, 2. You hear the clock ticking? Tick tock. You about to stop living. Tick tock. I want you to remember me. Tick tock. But the day don't have no memory. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can hold me. Nobody control me. I'm coming. I'm here to do my thing. I'm here to bring the pain. I'm never ever gonna change. I'm coming. Nobody can stop me. Nobody can hold me. Nobody control me. I'm coming. I'm here to do my thing. I'm here to bring the pain. I'm never ever gonna change. Like Tropicana, I got the juice. All for the least, let the dog loose. Don't make me call up the crew. Now they getting scared, wanna call up a truce. I'm the one like Neil, cocky like steel. Nobody can guard me like I'm shooting a free throw. This is it.
All right, welcome to the Jeff Mayweather Show. It's January 15th. My name is Alex Iserman, and I'm joined by Jeff Mayweather. Jeff, how you doing tonight, sir? What's going on with you?
I'm good.
Get that battery charged up? Had a little car trouble today?
Yeah, I have a little car trouble today, but hopefully I'm back in business tomorrow.
All right. Well, we got a great show tonight. We're going to be joined in the bottom half of the hour by Kid Chocolate, Peter Quillin. But right now we're going to be joined by a fighter that Jeff knows pretty well here. Malik Scott's going to join us for the next little bit. Malik, welcome to the Jeff Mayweather Show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. What's happening?
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Jeff?
I'm good.
Well, for those that don't know, obviously Jeff and Malik got to know each other pretty well here a few months ago. Unfortunately for Jeff, I guess. Jeff was the trainer for Bowie Tupou, and of course Malik fought him in his last fight and got the victory in 8 rounds. First, well, let's start with you, Jeff. Let's get your thoughts on that fight.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it was a fight in which I didn't think that it was a good selection for us anyway. I mean, because I know that, Boy has trouble with guys that can box, and I think that Malik is probably the best boxer in the heavyweight division, hands down. So we were in for, a situation in which where we had to try to just land a big shot in, and he was too slick for that.
Now, Malik, I think he's being a little too nice because he's been telling me all the time since then that you just got lucky that you didn't deserve it. So he's changing his tune now, right, Jeff?
Yeah, right. No, I keep it real.
No, just kidding. Malik, just, as far as, your thoughts on the fight?
The fight is so the handwriting is right on the wall, man. Bowie is a one-trick pony. He come forward. He wants to land one punch. He almost actually pulled his game plan off with Brian Jennings and landed the one shot. I'm too skillful, I'm too talented to go for them type of fighters and them trying to get them type of game plans off for me. He didn't land a big shot. I beat him with my jab the whole night, and he quit in the 8th round. And, it was simple as that.
Right. Now, Jeff, you'd mentioned that you think he's the best boxer in the division. What advantage do you think that gives him over the other, the top dogs that, running out there in the heavyweight division?
Well, I mean, like I said, one thing is when you're a good solid boxer in any weight class, it makes it difficult, because most boxers can make adjustments, and to be a boxer, you don't have to be no big puncher to be able to beat guys that are bigger punchers. You can outsmart them, you can outthink them, and so that's one of the things with being a good boxer is that you can deal with whatever's in front of you because you're able to make adjustments as the fight takes place.
Right. And Malik, for you, how is it hard at all for you not to get sucked into someone's plan like that? You're a big dude, you're still a guy, going in there. Is it hard not to get stuck in there and try not to, go toe-to-toe with a guy instead of sticking to the game plan and using your superior boxing?
Not really. For a logical, because outside the ring as well as inside the ring, I'm a very logical human being, and 1 + 1 is 2. Bowie Tupou is looking to land a big shot. He's not going to do it. My reflexes is too good. My hands is too fast. My feet is too fast to go for them type of fighters that them type of fighters really is easy work to me. It's almost too easy. Like, you know what I mean? You can't just be a one-trick pony, think you're going to come forward and land a big shot on me. I've been eating them guys up for breakfast like my whole life. So, like, it's not a science project. It's nothing, you know, real arithmetic about it. Bowie tried to land a big shot. He didn't land it on me, and it was because of my great reflexes that I believe in.
Right. Now I've been reading Twitter here. It seems like your fellow heavyweights got your back in your upcoming fight, but you're fighting another undefeated guy. You're 35-0. You're facing a 14-0, a tough guy. He's training out of New Jersey right now, but he's actually Ukrainian, I believe. Klaskov. What do you know about him, and what do you expect in that fight?
I know enough about him. He fought what's the cat name? Tor Hammer. Tor Hammer basically quit. I don't know why Tor Hammer. He just decided not to quit. But if anybody knows Tor Hammer, you know he's not extremely passionate about boxing. So when you're dealing with somebody that really don't have any passion at all, that they can just go out there and quit on national TV, you really know what type of fighter you're dealing with. This kid that I'm fighting, he's not fighting Tor Hammer. He's never seen a boxer like me in front of him. And I'm looking forward to the fight, and I'm definitely looking forward to staying undefeated on February 23rd.
Yeah, it's going to be on NBC TV, a good showcase for you. First of all, tell us about being on TV. And NBC, it seems like they're doing a really good job promoting, a lot of you up-and-coming boxers. So what do you think, what's NBC done for you guys, as far as boxing in general?
What has NBC done?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they've done really well as far as, getting a lot of you upcoming guys. Brian Jennings obviously has been kind of a star over there on NBC. So explain the opportunity of being on NBC and what they've done for, up-and-coming boxers.
Oh, it's a great exposure machine. Like, not just for me, like you said, for all up-and-coming fighters just coming up. And it's also bringing back them throwback days of when fighters was always busy and always on national TV, not just the cable channels, not just pay-per-view, because there's so many fighters and we all up and coming hungry that we need these kind of outlets. So February 23rd, I'm going to take all advantage of the opportunity of this, because I'm very appreciative to get this fight. I'm glad that they took the fight. There's so many fighters that go the opposite direction of coming to fight Malik King Scott that, this kid actually took the fight, and we're going to see what he got February 23rd.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that, and that's the one thing that I thought was pretty cool. Because me and Jeff have had these disagreements before about pay-per-view versus free TV and that kind of thing. And and as far as it goes with making stars, and when I was little, I remember seeing Larry Holmes fight on free TV, and that kind of thing. Whereas now, once you get there and are a huge star, if you don't, you're not going to pay $50 for the pay-per-view, you're not going to get to see anybody. So I think it's really cool that they're coming back and bringing those kind of fights back and letting people see you guys, as you become stars and, while you're stars.
Right, definitely, man. It's a great exposure machine, and it's building champions. It's showing contenders. It's showing pretenders. It's showing it's a great exposure, man. And, I'm happy to be a part of it. It's kind of like the revolution is coming back, and I'm gonna take full advantage of it February 23rd.
Now, Jeff, this guy's 35-0, and basically, if you're not a real big fan of, well, I don't want to say a big fan, but if you don't follow boxing really closely, you might not even know who this guy is. How can you be 35-0 and have as much talent as Malik Scott and him not get the recognition that he deserved at this point?
I mean, a lot of it has to do with, basically what he's talking about now, being able to be seen. I mean, you can be 50-0, but if you haven't had no exposure, it doesn't matter. So, and basically, Malik, he's been on TV a few times, but he hasn't been on there enough where, he can really build a strong fan base. And so basically now, he's probably with this, getting this opportunity on NBC, it's only going to help. It's going to help, and, the thing is that now people will understand, why he is 35-0.
Mm-hmm. And Malik, what do you think about that as far as, why you might not be, why you're, kind of under the radar at this point?
It's so many different reasons, man, and, it's a long list of them. And when I start thinking of all of them reasons, I hate to come across as a man that's coming up with a bunch of excuses for a bunch of other people, and different managers and different promoters and different injuries and all that type of shit. But the only thing I can say is I'm extremely healthy. I'm thankful that I'm healthy. I'm thankful that I'm still relevant, and I'm so thankful that I got this opportunity February 23rd. Because like I said, man, I'm going to take full advantage of it. This kid has never seen nothing like me. He's got, what I do like is he has a good pedigree. He comes to fight, but guys that come to fight, they play right into my hand. So, we definitely going to see what this kid is really made of.
Right. Now, Jeff, going back to he's 35 now. I just asked what you thought about him not being quite as known as he could have been. But you got people like and you being a Mayweather, all about the hype machine and how that stuff works. So how does someone like Saul Alvarez, he's got all the hype behind him, and he hasn't fought a bunch of huge people, and he's only fought questionable competition. So how does someone like him get up there and be that get ton of attention he may or may not have deserved, and then you get someone like Malik who, hasn't necessarily, got people behind him to push him where, he could get the notice he deserves.
Well, I mean, they had the ball rolling for Canelo the second he turned pro. So, I mean, it was almost like, in your face. So you could not know who he was. And it didn't take long for him to become a major attraction in boxing. I mean, right behind Floyd and Pacquiao, he's probably the next guy. It was Cotto, but I think now, it's probably Canelo. And, I mean, he's had the media push from him, for day one. So everybody knows who Canelo is. So that makes a huge, huge difference.
Right. And did that piss you off, Malik, that you don't get attention?
I would say piss me off. It adds fuel to my fire because it so happens that usually guys that don't get the type of attention that they deserve, these guys can't really fight. They don't have the skills to pay the bills. But it just so happened in my case, I am the real deal. I do have the skills to pay the bill, but that's why we got this great NBC show. So people that don't believe, after February 23rd, they will be believers. So like I said, I'm thankful, and I'm just ready to fight right now. I can actually fight right now. I'm 225 pounds right now. So, like, they giving me an extra, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So, I mean, this kid got his hands full.
You're out of action for, 4 years, from 2008 to 2012. You had a bicep injury. How did that affect you, both mentally and physically? And do you think that really set you back? If you had been able to continue at that point, do you think you'd be champion right now?
Most likely I would have been champion, but, it just so happened with the injuries that I had, they was like career-ending injuries. Like my doctors were saying that before the surgery, it was no reason to even do the surgery because I would never be able to fight again. So like I said, man, but when them doctors were saying that, I was still telling them to do the surgery. I still was telling them they wasn't God. And after the surgery was done, I hopped my ass right back in the gym and did everything that it took to get my bicep right. And it's been back as like the bionic arm ever since. So, I'm here now.
Was there ever any apprehension, coming back, and were you a little worried that you could do something re-injure it and then, totally end your career?
Yes. I mean, sometimes, when I'm human, at times I have doubt, especially when it comes to those type of serious injuries. But, I go in the gym and I have great days and, I have okay days and, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. My arm is perfect, my health is perfect, and I'm just ready to fight.
All right. Now, Jeff, I was joking at the beginning, but you're one of Malik's biggest fans as far as, you constantly say how good he is. At this point, obviously if he gets by this fight, not looking past it, obviously, but where do you see him as far as the heavyweights go? Obviously, they got a couple Klitschko's up there on top of the mountain. How far is he away from a shot like that, and how do you think he stacks up against the best in the heavyweight division?
Well, I mean, I don't think that he's that far away from, title fight. I mean, anytime you have a guy that has a record like Malik, I mean, he's already in position, to be in line for a title. It's just a matter of making the connection. And because the Klitschko's have pretty much fought everybody that's out there already, So, I mean, there's a few other guys that's in line that haven't had their chance, and that's very few. You of course, you have the guy Price, you have Tyson Fury, you have Malik Scott, you have, what's the other kid, Helena's. A few guys out there that I feel actually, do have a chance against, the Klitschko's. But, because everybody else the Klitschko's have fought, some guys have had 2 chances, and they're basically retreads. So, it's time for some new blood to get a chance. You have Tony Thompson. He fought both Klitschko's and got knocked out the same way by both of them. So, and then you have other guys that have, had a chance, had more than one shot. So it's time for some new blood anyway. And so I think that Malik has a great chance of, of winning the heavyweight title.
And what are your thoughts on that, Malik?
Yeah, just like Jeff said, man, I'm knocking right at the door. I think this kid, February 23rd, is going to be the first door me kicking down starting this year. And then I believe 2-3 fights later, I'll be challenging one of the Klitschko's, whichever one it is. I'm not really concerned with. We both know what we all know what both of them bring to the table, and we all know what both of them don't bring to the table. And with my skills and with my agility and with my ability and with my talent and with my heart all in one, I think I'll give either one of them, problems in the ring. So, I'm just, February 23rd is the date that I'm on right now, and then after that, it's whatever.
Right. Here's my thing, though. If I'm a Klitschko, Jeff mentioned them fighting retreads and that kind of stuff. I don't think I fight. No offense. Well, actually, it's a compliment to you. I don't think I fight you at any point. Because you could sit there. They can fight retreads, and they're close up to the end of their careers. If they can have a few decent fights and cement their legacy, Jeff. What do you think? If you were advising a Klitschko, would you have him get in a ring with someone like Malik Scott, or would you try to avoid that?
I don't necessarily know if I was their manager, what I would really do at this point, because they can make a situation tough for anybody. They can make a situation tough for Malik Scott. They can make a situation tough for any fighter that's willing to fight them, because they dictate the terms. And with them dictating the terms, sometimes that means that even if you do win, you don't win. So it's one of those situations in which, the Klitschko's, they're not the easiest guys in the world to knock out, and they do have skills. And now they can make you come to Germany, and you can fight in an arena where there's 20,000, 30,000, and not one person screaming for you. And and also the fight might not even be televised. So they can put you in a situation in which, if you don't knock them out, you're not going to win anyway. So, I don't think that if I was a Klitschko that I would avoid anyone. Not when I have that much power.
All right. Now, Jeff, which of the Klitschkos do you think Malik matches up better with?
I think that he can. I think that with his skills, I think that he has a great chance with either one of them. I think that Vladimir is a little better boxer. He has a little more agility. I think that what's the other one name? Vitaly.
Vitaly.
Yeah. Vitaly, of course, is a much bigger puncher. So it's one of those things. I think that in the case with Malik, I think that he'll probably have a better chance with the guy that's looking for the knockout, more so than the guy that's trying to outbox him. I think that, it would be a little easier to deal with Vitaly, because he's looking for one big shot.
All right. Malik, let me ask you a little bit. You've been around for quite a while here, but it seems like, your thoughts on the American heavyweight picture in general. It seems like you got some up-and-coming guys here that are pretty decent. Just, your thoughts on the heavyweight division in general. Let's I'd just like to ask you about a couple of these guys in particular and what you think they bring to the table and how talented they are. First of all, what we mentioned earlier about Brian Jennings. What do you think about him and his talent?
He's an extremely hard worker. Extremely. He has one of the best. He has one of the best trainers in the world, which is my childhood trainer, who taught me everything I know. Fred Jenkins, and I believe he's a very explosive. Brian Jennings is a good, solid fighter.
All right. And what about Deontay Wilder?
Deontay is a big, hard-hitting motherfucker. I don't care, people say, well, who has he fought, who has he this. I'm not into that. I'm into somebody having 26 wins, 26 knockouts. That don't like that. I don't even remember the last time that happened. After Michael Moore, when Michael Moore was coming up from the light heavyweight division, Deontay's another good solid fighter with a very, very hard right hand.
Right. And then, the one that kind of doesn't look like the rest and then, can kind of sneak up on you because he doesn't look like much of a fighter when you just look at him. But what about Andy Ruiz?
Who?
Andy Ruiz. Are you familiar with him at all?
Oh, yeah, I know Andy. Well, I've seen him actually a couple times box. Yeah, he doesn't look like much, but he's fast from what I'm hearing, and he's coming up and coming along. I really haven't seen too much of him, but I heard he's somewhat of the real deal, but yeah, he's an okay fighter.
Yeah, we saw him a few weeks ago. When he was fighting Elijah McCall, Oliver McCall's son, and you have Elijah's all ripped and chiseled, and then you have this really doughy guy up there.
How did that fight go?
How did that fight go? Ruiz tooled them. It was the second round. They ended it. I believe the second might have been the third, but yeah, it was a one-sided beatdown. I mean, it was ugly, and then Ruiz was really impressive. I was really surprised.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. He's coming up strong, man. I always hear good things about that kid. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about the heavyweight division in general? It's been dead for so long, because it's at least here in America, I'll say, because the Klitschko's have been on top. They're not, they don't kiss American ass, so we don't get to see too much over here of them, since the days of Tyson and that kind of thing. It's really been for the most part a dead division, like I said, with them being on top for so long and kind of ignoring us over here. What do you think about where the division's going and the people I just mentioned, and like I said, the division as a whole, and and what's in the future? Including yourself, obviously.
I'm one of them guys, man, that I can't really talk bad about a division that I'm in, especially when I see nothing but talented fighters. Like all these guys that we name, these motherfuckers are talented, man, and they can actually fight. Now, the problem with the heavyweight division, I believe, is not enough of us are fighting each other. That's why this fight, February the 23rd, people are excited about it. Me and this kid, I forgot, I don't know how to pronounce the kid name, but what's the kid name I'm fighting? What's his name?
Yeah, you're fighting Vyacheslav Glastov.
Yeah, Vyacheslav Glastov. like that's why people are excited about it, because you got two undefeated guys that's bringing something to the table. Like, it need to be more matchups like this going on. Like Brian Jennings and Deontay, they actually need to fight. I mean, it's cool to have a Twitter beef and a media beef, but these are the type of fights that actually need to happen for the heavyweight division to get the credit that it deserves. Because if you got me and Deontay, we even always talking about it, and we comrades with each other. We always talking about a lot of these O's got to go, even if it's us fighting each other. But the managers and the promoters got to stop hiding behind the curtains and put their guys up to bat. And if there's anybody that's always willing to fight anywhere, anytime, is Malik Scott. This kid that I'm fighting February 23rd, 7 guys turned this kid down. That's humiliating. That's embarrassing for me. Now, I don't like that part of the heavyweight division. Everybody wants these big bucks in the type of economy that we live in. I'm chasing history, and while I'm chasing history, it just so happens that I'm getting paid for my craft. It's too much of that hiding. Well, I want to fight him for $30,000. No, I want to fight him for $70,000. Motherfuckers need to just fight. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, no, really though, because the money and making the money, that'll take care of itself. But all of this, I'm not fighting him. I'd rather fight him. And I understand at the beginning it's the managers and the promoters' call. But once you get over 16, 17 fights, it's time for the fighters to really start speaking up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at some of my interviews from Eastside Boxing, from Fight News, from what's my man name from Fight Hype, Percy, I've been calling guys out for the last 5, 6 years. It just so happened that my promoters and my managers wasn't making the right moves for me. So, like, excuse me, guys. So it just so happened my manager and promoters wasn't making the right moves for me, but I stayed at my craft, and now I'm having my opportunity to see let the world see why everybody been ducking me for the last 5, 6 years. But the division need more top quality young heavyweights fighting each other. That's the only way we're gonna get our just due as far as a whole, as far as the American heavyweight division. If people keep ducking and hiding and wanting this much money, because it's a such way of being a coward. And I call a lot of these guys, they don't have no heart, so they use the purse bid to hide behind. They use the purse to hide behind. Oh, well, they only offer me $60,000. Only? The time that we live in, it ain't no such thing as only $60,000. Like, I damn near, like, you know, that don't make sense to me, but these are the type of things that these cats is pulling off. I'd rather fight him for this much money. I'd rather fight. Now, don't forget, now, this would be somebody with 20 fights trying to pick a fight. You can't pick no fights. Like, the only people, to me, that's allowed to pick fights is Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo, and them. If you ain't at that level, all that trying to hand pick fights, that shit don't make no sense. That has never made sense to me. All that hand-picking fight shit, and you're not even a contender yet. How are you hand-picking a fight when you ain't paid no dues? You got to pay dues to start hand-picking a fight. And I don't have no time to be hand-picking no fights. I got 2 kids. I'm extremely hungry. I'm underrated. Like, I'm fighting any and everybody. All you got to, like my Eastside Boxing, the title of my last interview was, I'm only a phone call and a contract away. I'm not arguing about purse. I'm not arguing about who's the guy. When these cats called me and said they wanted this dude, I said, yo, I'll be up here. I went and signed the contract the very next day. Like, anybody can get this work. Like, you know what I'm saying? But all of that hiding behind purses and all that shit, man, that's like, you know, that's not the revolution of the new heavyweight division. Like, you know what I mean? That's coward shit. But a lot of these guys that's doing that, they hiding behind their managers. They hiding behind their promoters. They hiding behind luxury as far as money. You know, and speaking on different numbers. 100,000. I'm not fighting Adamic for 100,000. How the fuck can you turn down $100,000 to fight Adamic? Like, that's like speaking another language to me. Like when I heard a couple cats did that. They only offer me $70,000, $60,000 to fight Adamic. Man, you don't even deserve the box. I think after a while they should make a rule that if you turn down a certain amount of fights, a certain amount of money, you're not even allowed in the sport no more. Because that's ridiculous. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous to do that type of shit. But this is the type of shit that's going on, man. I'm sorry, guys. I just need to speak on the coward act of a lot of these.
I think we hit a sore spot with you.
He's on a rant.
We don't. You know, and I actually want to get your thoughts on it in a second, Jeff. But that's the one thing, and again, this is kind of something me and Jeff have argued about too. You know, about different things, but. Yeah, it just seems like, you know, you might have the guys like Deontay and Jennings and yourself or whatever, but it's one thing if we're only seeing, you know, talented up-and-coming guys against mismatched opponents. But, yeah, we need to see you guys in there together, knocking each other's heads off for 2 and 3 times, you know, and having these great feuds like we used to have back in the day so we can see you guys, you know, against the total, you know, best competition that you can get in there against instead of, you know, hand-picked guys. Jeff, your thoughts on all that?
It has to go down like that.
Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what he said?
No, I mean, I think that what he's saying is 100% correct, because the thing is this, is that, you know, I mean, because right now there are no titles that belong to Americans, you know, to bring prominence back to America, I mean, we have to start with these guys who are the guys that out there we're following, and allow them to challenge one another. You know, like you said, I mean, you know, you have a Malik guy, you have a DeAndre Water, you have Brian Jennings, you have, you know, I mean, these are American fighters, and, you know, they can actually fight amongst each other, you know, to put themselves in position to fight for a title. You know, and basically that'll bring prominence back to the heavyweight division, at least even here in America. And even if it's just the best guy out of, you know, even if it's a tournament or whatever, even the best guy that's done after all this stuff is, after smoke clear, the guy that's the best guy fight for the title. You know, I mean, but still, and it actually, it brings notoriety and it brings back prominence back to America because, like he said, they're willing to take the challenge against, you know, the best guy out there that's, you know, or the guy that has a big following, the guy that has a big, I mean, like DeAndre Wilder, is that his name?
Yeah.
Anyway, but this guy, I mean, everybody he hit, they go to sleep, you know. But at the same time, I mean, you know, you can't question all of his opposition. I mean, even though he has had some weak opposition, but still, even having weak opposition, every fight hasn't been a weak opposition, and everybody that's been in front of him has been put to sleep, meaning that this dude has some serious power, you know. And I can understand, you know, what he's saying. He's saying that maybe, you know, you have guys that are scared to death that, you know, that probably in position don't want to take no chance fighting him because, you know, I mean, they know that no matter what, you know, no matter what his record is, no matter who he fought, they know that he can punch. And that part is legit because ain't nobody stood up to him no matter what. You know, and the thing is that, like, I mean, it's one of those things that you can't be, you know, just waiting to fight for your opportunity if you want to bring back boxing to America where the fans are going to generate and the fans are going to say, wait a second, this is our guy. This is our guy that we want to represent us, you know, as an American heavyweight. Because, I mean, right now it's almost like the Klitschko's and everybody else. Nobody else is nothing. You know what I mean? That's how it is right now in the heavyweight division. Until like he said, until these guys are willing to make, you know, a challenge against one another, you know, to get the ball rolling, to find the heavyweight that we all want to get behind and throw our support to, and feel good about his chances of winning. You know, what he's saying is true. This was what needs to happen.
And, you know, it just seems almost like people are, you know, like you both comment about people, you know, handpicking opponents. It seems almost like people are trying to, the up-and-comers are trying to, before they have their first real, you know, big challenge, they want it to be a super fight. You know, if I get to 40, you know, and beat everybody, then I can get a big super fight. Then I'll fight someone tough because I'm getting, you know, $3 million or $5 million or whatever. So they want to, you know, just totally, you know, cherry pick and like I said, establish themselves as superstars, even though, you know, they necessarily haven't, you know, deserved it. But one thing, Malik, that Jeff mentioned very briefly was a tournament. What about doing like a Super 6 or something like for heavyweights? That's something you'd be down for?
That'd be almost the best thing that happened to the heavyweight division in the last 15, 20 years, I believe. See, those type of things, that is almost like when you cut the grass, you see all the snakes. Those type of tournaments right there, that really weeds out the undefeated records, that weeds out the novice guys between the guys that's really skilled, that weeds out who's the actually best pound-for-pound heavyweight that this country got to offer. Now, it's that simple. That's what that tournament would do. Point blank, period. If you put the best young heavyweights all together in the tournament, whoever win that tournament is the best young heavyweight that America got to offer. Now, what's so hard to put that together? That's up to the powers that be, as far as the promoters and the marketing teams of each promotional company and all that type of shit. But that's what the heavyweight division needs. That's exactly what the heavyweight division needs. It's nothing else. It's nothing else that can take on that responsibility of who's the best heavyweight that America got to offer besides a tournament like that. That's it.
If it were held today, who would you put in there? Would you do it where you just have the winner would get a shot against the Klitschko or what, and who would you put in there?
I really don't know who I would put in there besides myself. Like you said, you just named me, Brian, Deontay. To me, we're the given. We're the givens. Of course, we would go in there, but I really don't know. Like Eddie Chambers just down the cruiserweight. Of course, Eddie would go in there. Kevin Johnson would go in there. He's another. You know, he got a big mouth, but he's a good fighter. Who else? It's a couple guys, man, that could go in there, man.
I know that.
You know what I mean? It's a couple guys it's a few cats that can go in there, man. Joe Hanks is an explosive, fast fighter, my little bro. Like it's a few guys that could go in there, man, to really, you know what I mean, liven the division up and, you know what I mean, bring facts to the division and show who's the best young heavyweight America got to offer. That's the type of tournament. Now, will that ever happen? That's all up to the powers that be. That's all up to the promoters and, you know, them trying to, you know, protect their money and them trying to hold on to their company. And there's so much politics with this shit, man, that a lot of times there's a lot of moves made in boxing, but it may not be the best moves. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of moves made in boxing, but all of them is not the best moves. So, you know, I'm not putting millions of dollars up. So I'm not in the promoter's shoes, so I really can't speak on them. Like, you know, this is a business as well. I'm understanding people got to protect their money and protect their investments and all that type of shit, but I'm speaking from a fighter standpoint of view. You know what I'm saying? And from a fighter standpoint of view, I believe, you know, a tournament for the heavyweights coming up, that's the best thing that can happen for the division.
You know, and that's the one thing, you know, fans always love those tournaments. I think that get the fans behind it more than anything. You know, they know they're going to see the best against each other, and like I said, everybody likes to have their little brackets up and seeing it advances. So I think the fans will really get behind something like that, like, you know, they have previously in the other divisions.
And like a real tournament, not like that 3-round, you know, peekaboo style shit that be going on over there when you fight 3 rounds. I mean, that's cute and, you know, that's cool. But I'm talking about like how the Super 6 was with the middleweights. You need a heavyweight tournament like that.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that, and hopefully we'll get that in the future. You know, the last thing I just want to ask you about, and we'll let you get going here. You know, what would it mean to you? You know, you like I said, you're 35 now. You've been around for quite a while. You kind of under the radar, unappreciated. You know, avoided all that kind of stuff. The time comes, and eventually you get that hand raised. You know, what will it mean to you? And will it mean a little extra because, you know, you're kind of, you know, whoever the next American heavyweight champion is, or I guess a non-Klitschko, you know, will that mean anything extra to you, kind of, you know, bringing the belt home to the States?
Oh, that'll mean the world to me, man, because it's not just a me thing. You can say, fortunately, me and every other heavyweight that's from America, we're not only fighting for ourselves and our family, we're fighting for, you know, the representation of the young heavyweights that's coming up. So that'll mean the world to me to actually do that, bring the belts back home. It also would mean the world to me to actually not beat one Klitschko, but to beat both of them. That's really making history in a big way. I would love to be the first to do that. And, like, yeah, man, all of that is good. All of that is good, but we all know where my focus is right now, and that's on February 23rd, and that's where the whole thing started with Malik King Scott, and I plan on kicking the door down and looking good doing it.
All right, Jeff, and any final words for you for Malik?
Well, no, I mean, basically, you know, I wish Malik the best. You know, got a chance to meet him, you know, very nice guy, well-spoken. And obviously he has his head on straight, and he's ready to make some noise, you know. So I mean, I wish him all the best.
No, thanks, baby. I appreciate it, Jeff.
Right, and Malik, you know, you just mentioned obviously your fight coming up in NBC on February 23rd against Vyacheslav Glasgow. Other than that, you know, just tell the folks where they can keep up with you on the social media, the Twitter, the Facebook, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Twitter, Malik King Scott. Follow me, Malik King Scott. Instagram, I'm an Instagrammer, 215King. Facebook, Malik Scott. Yeah, I'm all over it. Yeah, I'm all over it. You can catch me on any of that. Any of that dough.
He's everywhere.
I'm like broken glass, man. I'm everywhere.
All right. Anything else other than that you want to let the folks know about before we get you out of here?
I just want everybody to please tune in, man. I'm on free TV. I'm not on pay-per-view. I'm not on Showtime. I'm not on HBO. I'm on free TV. Everything happens for a reason. God is great, and I appreciate it. Everybody just tune in and watch me work.
All right, man, Malik, we really appreciate that. Thanks so much for joining us, and it was great talking to you. Great having you on the first time, and hopefully we'll get you back again when you're getting ready to challenge for the heavyweight championship at some point.
I appreciate it, baby, in a minute.
All right, Jeff, send him out, Jeff.
Bye.
Later. All right, Jeff, I'll see you, man.
Okay.
All right, take care. Thanks.
All right.
All right, that was Malik Scott. Thanks so much for joining us. Looks like we found a little spot with him, Jeff, on the fighters not taking the proper competition in the right fight. It seemed like a sore spot with him.
Yeah, it seemed like, you know, he's ready to take any challenge there is, and that's good. That's good for boxing. It's just, you know, unfortunate, like he said. I mean, you have managers that have money invested in. Of course, at the end of the day, everything is about the Klitschko. So, I mean, everybody wants their fighter to fight for the title and not necessarily have to prove that they're the best American or anything like that. I mean, it would be great, but I don't think that, you know, it'll happen because it's just, you know, there's just too, I mean, everybody that hasn't had a chance at the Klitschko want their shot, and they don't want to take no chance of, you know, being upset by another fighter to derail that. So I think that, you know, unfortunately, something like that won't happen, but it would be nice.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get Peter Quillin on the phone here. And Jeff, just real quick while I'm doing that, if you can give obviously we'll do our weekly Floyd rundown here. It appears, it's all but done and settled that he's going to fight Guerrero on the 4th and Canelo in the fall. But just give us a little rundown on the possibilities of that and what's going on there, and I'll be right back with Peter Quillin.
Okay, well, I mean, basically at this point, even though it supposedly is Guerrero, I'm still not 100% sure because, as I explained, he's still playing the game of, that he's not revealing it. So, I'm looking on Fight News, I'm looking at all these boxing sites, and basically everyone's saying it's Guerrero, but at the same time, I've looked at sites and it's also said that it's been Canelo. So, to be honest, I'm not sure who it is. I don't think that whoever's writing whatever it is, I don't think they're sure either because I don't think no contract has been signed by anyone.
All right, Jeff, we're back, and thanks for that update there, and thanks for Malik Scott joining us. Now we're going to be joined by another great fighter, Peter Kid Chocolate Quillin. Peter, thanks for joining the Jeff Mayweather Show here with myself and Jeff Mayweather.
All right, thank you for having me on.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
Well,
Good. And yourself?
I'm blessed, taking one day at a time.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for joining us, Peter. You got a huge fight coming up here in just a couple of weeks on February 9th against Fernando Guerrero. Give us a rundown on that fight and what you're looking forward to there.
Well, it's not as huge as my girlfriend. My girlfriend is like 300 pounds, so I don't know if is that huge, but But no, let me stop playing that. The fight is definitely huge, and I'm blessed to be on a great card. To be able to showcase my talents is just all a blessing, and and I'm gonna keep on striving to be the best and I'm just good enough right now. I know you say I'm a great fighter, but I just think I'm good enough for right now until me building into that greatness, and that's what I'm doing every day.
Right. Well, now you're a Grand Rapids guy. What do you think of those Mayweathers? They're the second best fighters coming out of Grand Rapids, right?
Well, you know what? I'm where I'm at because of the Mayweathers. They inspired me to be, a fighter, and actually, humble down and be able to get off the street to be able to go into a boxing gym. So I'm blessed to be able to be, from the same city of such, a great family of boxing, having a great family in boxing from Grand Rapids, and Big Floyd is good friends with my father for so many years. So, just to be able to, be from the same city and work towards my own things, man, it's a blessing.
Right. How long did you live out there in Grand Rapids?
I lived out there my whole life. We moved my family moved us from Chicago. I was like 3 months, 6 months of age, and moved to Grand Rapids. Lived there until I was 18 years old. Moved to New York City after that. But my whole swag comes from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right. Now I'm from the Detroit area. I didn't get over there that much, but for the folks that don't know, Grand Rapids is not huge. Just explain. You touched on it a little bit, but what the Mayweather name means to folks out there in Grand Rapids.
Man, it's as far as boxing, when everybody go into a boxing gym and fight, they try to fight like the Mayweathers. From Grand Rapids, especially, their name's such a big name there and everything. It's kind of sort of like what the Barrages was coming out of Grand Rapids is in the same fashion, but for boxing, having like Floyd going to the levels he went to, like to be able to be from the same city of a guy that's went to heights that you can never ever imagine, and made some of the biggest the biggest purses in boxing, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what when it's time to when I set my goals, I set goals according to that.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, what are your thoughts on, a fellow Grand Rapids guy there and what Peter's been able to do so far in his career?
Well, I mean, I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of the fact that he is from Grand Rapids, and it just shows that no matter where you're from, you can become, you can follow your dream and make it happen. And I got a chance to watch the fight when Peter won the title, and it was very impressive. Put the guy down 6 times or something like that. The guy.
Yes, I knocked him down 6 times. But you know what's crazy? Is they don't even give me credit. They don't even give me credit for it. You know, only real boxing people give me credit. But let me tell you something. They were like, yeah, you got to get a guy to get up 6 times. I mean, what do you feel about that? I said, well, if he could have kept getting up, it was my job to keep knocking him down. That's all I train to do. And I'm very blessed to be able to have a fight underneath my record like that where, you know, guys never say, I never fought a guy who won 15 amateur fights to be able to go out there and put on a performance with another black fighter like that, you know, and be able to come out unscathed and feel good about himself and go to another fight. I'm blessed with that. Now I'm back February 9th in the same stadium defending my belt against another top guy that's going to come to win, and I'm coming to, you know, hold my title with pride.
Right. Yeah, I want to get that fight in just 1 second real quick. Just first I want to go back with your name. I know you're Cuban descent. Your father was born and raised there. Tell us a little about the name Kid Chocolate and where that came from. I know it came from a great boxer back in the 30s, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, 1920s, early 1930s. The Kid Chocolate was one of those marquee names in New York City. Kind of had a similar story. What I did, you know, moving out of my hometown to make my name in New York City. I went to New York and made a good name for myself in New York. And the same thing what he did, but he was like selling out the stadiums and the arenas there. So you know, when I thought taking on a name, I ain't taking it to be disrespectful and saying I'm just that great. No, you know, you rarely hear about those great fighters from those cutback, throwback fighters from the 20s, 30s, you know what I'm saying, like the Jack Johnsons, the Willie Peps, all those guys. You don't get to hear so much about them who paved the way for like guys like me to be able to be where I'm at. And then having similarities to him being from Cuba. My dad is 100% Cuban and having a lot of Cuban culture about myself, man. I rep Cuba very proudly. And, you know, I'm just blessed to be able to hold a name proudly and keep his name alive for the history books, keep his name alive for boxing fans, keep his name alive for boxing, period. Kid Chocolate was one of Mike Tyson's favorite fighters.
Yeah. Well, you probably didn't know this, but I believe Jeff, towards the end of Jeff's career, he actually fought him, right, Jeff? How did that fight go?
I'm sure I won because I don't remember him still being around.
Yeah, he was. I was like, man, he must have been boxing him in the grave or something.
Yeah, I must have been.
Yeah. Jeff started out the bare knuckles, and then you know the 120 round things, and then he kind of moved on from there. But
when they never used to wear shoes.
So you know we mentioned the fight. You're fighting there in Brooklyn and at the Barclays Center. Tell us about fighting Fernando Guerrero. You seem like you and Danny Garcia are attached to the hip there, fighting on the same card again here and in the same venue. Tell us about being able to fight there and kind of what's your second home.
Yeah, you know, I look at it like this. You always hear a guy that's, you know, when he's fighting in his hometown, he kind of got the pressures not to let the crowd down. But, you know, Fernando Guerrero is a Dominican guy. He's, I think, originally from New York City, moved to Salisbury, Baltimore. And, you know, he's going to have, and he already putting it on his own back to say that he wants to be the first Dominican middleweight champion out there, which I don't know if it was Julio Cesar Green that fought, and I don't know if he won a big title, but, like, you know, if this is what he says, then I know it's a very good reason to be a middleweight champion to, you know, be able to go out there and fight for his country. But, you know, what I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be a Cuba versus Dominican kind of fight, because I got so many Dominican fans and so many Dominican friends that, you know, I'm not going to detach myself from my relationship with them just over a fight. I just know that, you know, what makes a powerful champion is that he just don't inspire his own people. He inspires people outside of his race. So me inspiring Dominicans, me inspiring the black community, me inspiring the Cubans, and, you know, all as a whole. You know, I think that's very special if somebody can do that. And, you know, like I said, I don't want to make it as a Dominican versus a Cuba thing, because you already know, you know, Cuba holds his records in boxing, and, you know, and I'm not saying anything super about that, but I'm just saying as far as this fight goes, I know he has a good reason to want to come and take my belt. And all my job is to do is train like I've been training, which I trained it to destroy. So come February 9th, I got respect for him now, and when that bell ring, the respect is lost, and I'm going to fight him like a stranger and a thief that stole something in the night from him.
And what about being in that venue in particular, like you said, in the Barclays Center there in Brooklyn? What's the atmosphere like there as opposed to fighting, you know, here in Vegas or you know, a smaller venue somewhere else?
Well, like I said, it's one thing to be able to go all about and fight other areas, but, like, my name has been built in New York, and, to be able to be part of such a new kind of thing, a new arena, what happens, like when MMA came out, everybody thought it was going to overthrow boxing just because it was like a new thing to, the fight world. But, this arena, you didn't have so many in the mecca of boxing, which is the Madison Square Garden, to have something right over a bridge and be such a big kind of thing, man, like I said, it's like a blessing in disguise. And every time I go out there, I won my title there. I became in the history books to become a middleweight champion. Now every time I go out there, like I said, it's working towards greatness. And to be able to work towards my greatness in like an arena that's new, that could be in the following years a good arena, who knows? And like I said, it's just about me fighting with my heart and fighting with my, fighting with my mind and putting everything together there in the Brooklyn Barclays Center, hoping that I inspire everybody that's there in attendance. That's what's important to me.
And Jeff, how important is it to you, do you think, for places like New York that, were so prominent at one time but kind of, faded the last few years to come back and start to get back in the boxing business and put on great fights like this?
I mean, I think it's important. I think that, of course, Vegas and Atlantic City pretty much took over boxing at one point in time, but, with the Barclays Center and, I mean, it's going to be like, boxing is back, and of course, obviously they have intentions of having, a lot of major fights there. So, I mean, they'll be back in the scene, because New York at one point in time was really, really big on boxing. It was great, to be able to say that you fought in New York, or say that you fought at the Madison Square Garden, anything like that. But, in the Barclays Center, I guess it's going to be probably more catered to boxing, more so than, them having fights at the Garden anymore. But still, I think that, it's going to bring boxing back in a big way.
And, Peter, what's your thoughts? You kind of touched a little bit on Guerrero, but a few years ago he was a huge prospect coming out. Then he lost to Grady Brewer there, and it kind of set him way back. But he's had a nice little run since then. Obviously he's got a lot to prove, and like I said, he has to be a little bit pissed off that when he once was thought of so highly, he's kind of been dismissed, and a lot of people are saying he's not a legitimate opponent for you. So what are your thoughts on him as far as being a worthwhile opponent for you?
Well, I think for his adversity, having one loss on his record is a test that he already know what it feels like to be a loser. Because not losing for 28 fights, I never knew that feeling. And to be honest with you, I do not want to feel that feeling. So what I do, I go out there, hit the track. My willingness to learn, before my camp started, I went out to Vegas to work with Big Floyd, working some of my defense. That's the part of me which advances me in this boxing, is to be able to have willingness to not to. And I'm not going to act like I know everything. All I know is that I want to keep getting better. I want to keep inspiring my fans. I want to keep, working towards greatness, like carrying the name. So I know, with Fernando knowing how it feels to lose, he can't sound like every other opponent. I don't want to hear him say, I'm going to give him his first loss, because he's going to sound just like every other guy that told me that. What I'm saying? I just hope I don't hear that from him. But from what I'm hearing from him, he sounds like he really wants, the belt. And that's what was going to do for boxing. It's going to bring the fans back into boxing. They want to see good fights. And as long as I'm prepared, and as long as he's prepared, I can not take anything away from him. But like I said, I do not want to feel like what it feels like to be a loser. That's why I train so hard, and I'm going to make sure that my hard work is put to use.
I think we got you in a bad patch there. You might be standing in a room doesn't get good reception there. We break up a little bit, but we caught most of what you said there. I want to get a little bit as far as training. You're working with Freddie Roach. He's a couple years ago he was the greatest trainer in the history of boxing. Then he had a tough little run here. Now he's catching a lot of flack. What do you think of Freddie and as far as his abilities go? And just touch a little bit as far as how the perception of trainers is kind of rise and fall. Basically on the success of one fighter or one fight.
Well, as you can see, I carried Eric Brown in my corner. At a time, Freddie, brought me to walk hard, and then he was going to train me, but he was just so super busy that I just needed the time, that, I thought I deserved, and I just chose to stick with his assistant, which was Eric Brown, and Eric became just my full-time trainer. So that's who I'm training with now. And, you know, I'm getting the time that I think I need to be able to progress and keep getting better. You know, as far as Freddie, I think Freddie knows really what he wants to accomplish, which he already accomplished in boxing. You know, but for right now, we just going to focus on, you know, knowing what Eric Brown is trying to get me and what he's trying to get for himself. And, you know, I'm just blessed with being able to be training in the wild card and being with so many different guys and different faces and different fighters that want to try to be champions and former champions. It's just a blessing to be. I'm a boxing fan, man. You know, besides being a participant in boxing, I am a boxing fan foremost. And to be able to be around all this, man, it's just a blessing. And I count my blessings. I'm making sure I stay humble.
And what's it like being you know, as opposed to having like a superstar trainer, you know, Freddie Roach, as opposed to having the guy, you know, you're with Eric Brown. Advantages and disadvantages. I mean, it actually seems like it's got to be kind of cool when you have someone that's maybe a little under the radar and can devote more time to you and isn't quite pulled in so many different directions by so many different people.
Well, you know, you get guys like football coaches who have these understudies that work on them so many different years and all these different years and get to see everything but never had a shot to fame. And I think right now that's Eric Brown. He started with a shot to fame with me and being able to, you know, like I just came out of nowhere. You know, I mean, I've been making my name, you know, amongst real boxing people, but amongst the casual boxing fan, they didn't know who I was. So to be able to be, you know, have my name with Freddie Roach, you know, helps me, but also helps a guy like Eric Brown who really just been working in the shadows for so many years, and now just able to come out of nowhere and be able to get his shine. And like, he's a boxer, he loves boxing just as much as me. So, you know, like, you know, I'm just happy. You know, boxing always from every angle comes from some type of struggle. A fighter comes from a struggle. Good fighters always come from a struggle. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Midwest makes so many good fighters, because those are the most deprived areas in the United States. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like Eric having a shot to fame with somebody like hungry as me that's eager to learn, eager to get better, and he's, you know what I mean, we working coincide. So it's like when you in the marsh pitch going to war and you feel comfortable with your guy that's right next to you, you know he going to die with you. That's Eric Brown for right now for me.
Okay. Now, Jeff, I'm just wondering, you got a Grand Rapids boy here. What happened to you? Why were you in there training him?
What you mean why I ain't train him? He chose me want to train him. Most important thing is
that don't take away the fact that I'm a big fan. So regardless, I never, if I never trained with the Mayweathers, it's like I have been training with them because of how much they did inspire me. They just put so much. You know, it's such I don't even think they know how much they inspired me to be where I'm at right now. So I have to give them a lot of credit for that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, with that being said, you know, I give credit due when it's time to give credit. You know what I'm saying? And that I have to give Jeff and his brothers and everything who's just been showing me so many blessings, so many happiness with me, man. I'm blessed to have them, man.
And you know, what do you think about some of the big names in your division? You know, how you match up with some of them. You know, like I said, you've kind of really come on here the last couple of years and really gotten your name out there. But you know, you have some other huge names out there in the division, the Sergio Martinez's, the Triple G's there, and people like that. How do you think you match up against the other champions? Who else am I missing? Who's the other champion?
I mean, you know, of course they're all good fights. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think they're all wonderful fights for me, and I think they all will be fights that will be made soon, and I think it all comes in time. This fight, I'll probably have an X on my back, you know, when these guys wanting to fight a guy like me. I just look at those guys like food, man. Eventually I'm going to eat them, you know what I mean? And, you know, I just train hard and be prepared for any one of those guys. I know some guys who would take a lot of credit and saying, oh, you know, you don't want to fight this person. I don't make my fights. I never, ever been a matchmaker. I never, ever was trying to do the business part of boxing. The only thing I ever wanted to do was be a fighter, and that's how I act. I don't say I don't want to fight him. I don't say that. I just, when they come and bring me these fights and these challenges, they bring the fights that is fair for me and is good for boxing. I think that's what's most important, and I think those fights will eventually be made. You know what I'm saying? Let the guys, some of the guys like Sergio Martinez, who wants to be considered the best in the world, and you know, and if he don't think I deserve a shot yet, then, you know, I can't take anything away from him, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to call him scared. I'm not going to say any of those things because I don't know him personally to know that. I just know that, you know, eventually time will come and time will keep ticking and, you know, either he's going to get older or the fight will never happen or the fight may happen. It's just, I'm just be happy with whatever God gives me. I'm just blessed being a champion right now, and I'm going to enjoy that success, and I'm going to defend my belt with pride and until it's time to get some of them other belts.
Do you have a dream opponent? Is it Martinez or maybe, you know, if you're thinking strictly money, I guess, you know, Martinez and Chavez Jr. are probably the biggest paydays out there. But do you have someone in mind that's kind of your dream opponent?
Well, you know, I love to fight. Yeah, right now, let me just say this. If I go over the head of Fernando Guerrero, then I'm looking too far in the future. I just know that number one priority is Fernando Guerrero to be, you know, focused on. That's who I'm focused for this whole camp. It's been him, and I'm looking at him. I see him every morning. I fight the fight every day in my head. So, you know, I'm training to have a victory. But, you know, it's other names like Daniel, who had 2 belts. You know, it's Triple G, of course, that, you know, is a superstar fight. And, of course, Sergio Martinez, which, you know, my eyes been on for so many years now. And, you know, I never had my shot to get at him. And, you know, like I said, all those fights could be made in the future. And I'm going to just keep focused, and I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to keep my hands up, my chin down. I'm going to keep a smart mind, and I'm going to fight with my balls because that's what I'm fighting with.
That's what it was.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot of fighters, man. They fight only with just some of their tools. They fight with their hands. They fight with their feet. They fight with their mind. They fight with their chin. They fight with their heart. I fight with everything. I fight with my feet, my hands. I use my mind to be a smarter fighter. I got a chin if I ever need it. I fight with the balls when we in the trenches. You know, so I'm just a complete fighter, and I'm working towards greatness. And how I do that is just keep having that willingness to learn and just know that God has got a mission and plan for me, and I'm just humble with my faith. And, you know, nobody can tell me nothing. None of the things that I got in life right now, nobody ever gave it to me. I had to fight for it, and that's where I'm at because of my hard work. I only got 15 amateur fights. I don't have no amateur fights. I only got 1 regional title, which is a ringside national tournament that I won in 2002. You know, but other than that, no Golden Glove titles, none of that. I just, you know, came out the woodwork. It's just been a fan of boxing. It turned into a dream, and I started setting my goals, and I've been accomplishing my goals ever since.
Okay. Now, we talked a little earlier with Malik Scott about, you know, some of the problems with boxing and as far as, you know, building it back up and the difficulties in making, you know, the bigger matches, you know, and you touched about, you know, like the fight Martinez. You know, if you were the boxing czar, what kind of changes would you make to the sport that would make it more fan-friendly and get you guys to be able to get in there with the best against each other?
The media. The media sometimes write as perspective of being a fighter themselves. You know, instead of just writing positive stuff about boxing, you don't see us enough on ESPN. You hear about the colleges and everybody what they're doing in college, but you don't hear about the guys that's up and coming who's fighting on their own network. They ain't even talking about boxing no more. So I would just say the media got to play a big part, getting, you know, not write so much bad stuff because that's what makes the sport get a black eye is when you write so much negative stuff. It's already like a super, I mean, look at football. Football, full contact sport, people being hurt for life. You know what I mean? You know, you guys got really messed up, and then they talk about boxing where guys like Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, who's been on the cover of Time. You know, these kind of guys, these are, and, you know, boxing is one of the oldest sports, man, you know, and they don't give us no respect. It's because some people, you know, that never had a fight in their life will go out there and write some negative stuff and, you know, have a bunch of people following that and make a little sense. But, like, you can't make sense of boxing. To be a boxer, you got to be a little crazy a little bit. And, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, it's my life. It's my life. You know, if you think about life, the reason why boxing, people can relate to boxing so much is because life is just like a boxing match. It's a fight. And you're fighting every day to be better. You're fighting every day to be the best at your job. You're fighting every day with your wife and trying to work it out. It's a fight, and that's why everybody can relate to a fight. So if everybody can look at it like that instead of looking at it like, oh, this guy is scared. Like, you can't tell somebody that's willing to step in a rope and fight another guy and look him in the eye and fight him and call him scared. That's not scared, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, like with me, I just know that I'm just blessed. And I try to be less involved with what people write about me or what people say about me because it's getting to the point where I'm just too emotionally attached to that kind of stuff. I got a guy hit me on my Twitter every day telling me why I don't fight GGG. It's because it don't make sense for me right now. If the money ain't there, what the fight is compared. I know he's a serious fighter. Yeah, there's some things in the fight that he may do good, and there's going to be a lot of things that I do great. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's going to be able to beat me. I just think the money don't make sense, and I think the boxing people that I work with, like the Golden Boys, the Al Haymans, and my management team, they're going to advise me on the best opportunities out there for me to make sure that the years that I invested in boxing, I'm going to get that back with these fights that's coming up. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I'm just keeping my blessings alive and keeping my faith in God grounded, and making sure that, you know, when I step out there, I'm fighting with my heart and my balls.
Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing you're not paying attention to the negative stuff because Jeff, let me tell you, Jeff rips on you constantly every week on the show. He's always talking bad about you. So glad you're not paying attention too much. Man. No, the one thing you mentioned, Al Heyman. He's also the advisor for Guerrero, right? And this is the first time I believe he's put two of his own guys together. So anything interesting coming out of that?
Well, you know, like boxing is if you get it confused, like you know, like me, if I get it confused with the fights I used to have on the corner of the street, you know what I'm saying, I'd be messed up. But you know, it's a business. So at the end of the day, that's how I kind of view this. You know, when you sign a contract, ain't no emotional involvement can be in that. Like, I'm signing a contract, and I'm just like, oh, man, I got to beat him up. No, I don't think like that. I'm like, damn, you know what? I'm going to sign this contract, I'm going to train to win, and I'm going to get paid. You know, that's called a job. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, probably when they fight me, when they about to fight me, I'm sorry, yeah. When they about to fight me, you know what they do? They kind of shivering and shaking a little bit when they sign the contract. Situation for their career. You know, it's like, I can't say that about Fernando Guerrero, but all I know is that I'm going to be ready February 9th to go ahead and put my stake in boxing.
All right. Last thing I'd like to cover with you both, actually, I'll start with you, Jeff, and then I'll get with you, because at some point, Peter, you're going to have to go through this. Shane Mosley just announced that he's coming back and fighting Paulie Malignaggi. Jeff, your thoughts on him coming back? He's catching a lot of flack. You know, he was 0-3-1 his last 4 fights. Thoughts on him coming back, and does he have anything left to offer?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I would just put it this way. I think that taking the fight with Malignaggi, because of the fact that he doesn't have punching power, is a safe fight, you know. Not saying that he will win or whether he'll lose, but it's safe. He won't get hurt, you know. And that's the reason why I think that he's coming back to fight Malignaggi. And not only that, I mean, it's a fight in which there's a title at stake. So, I mean, he's putting himself back in a position to, you know, win a world title and, of course, make a decent, you know, a nice payday. So, I mean, it makes sense, you know. But, I mean, if you're going to come back to fight any champion out there, you're taking less risk with somebody that's going to, you know, that's not going to hurt you. You know, I mean, they might beat you, but they're not going to physically hurt you.
I think we just had a Jeff Mayweather show first. There's dogs barking in the background, and it's not my dog, so
yeah, great to see for the show. I'm in Holly in the hills, and I'm trying to make sure that coyotes
there go my dog. There goes
that's your
dog
dog in the back, yeah. They must have heard the dogs in my background.
Yeah, no. My wife comes home every single time in the middle of the show, so without fail.
No, you want me to tell you what's crazy is because when I was on the phone with y'all, I'm standing on the corner of a street, and I seen a lady she fell really hard, and I just heard her over there crying. So I walked over there and I said, "Miss, are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah." She cool, and then the dog started barking at me.
All right. And then last thing, you know, your thoughts on what we just said about Mosley in particular, and then, you know, how do you think that, you know, you never know till you get there, but at some point it's going to come to the end of your career. Do you have kind of an exit strategy, and how do you think that's going to play out? It's going to be really hard for you to walk away, or, you know, I don't know. I'm not a fighter, so I know that the competitive spirit's will always be there, and it's hard to walk away when you got another good 50 years left in your life after your last match.
I think at the point, when I'm at that point, then I hope that I'm surrounded by good people, my friends and my family, who's going to, have me truly at heart. And at the same time, I hope that I'm just thinking in a clear head and I'm not thinking out of emotion. I don't like to make decisions out of emotions. I think at that time, God is going to show me at the time what I should be doing, And it's kind of hard to say that when you got a guy like Bernard Hopkins who go out there and just try to put his best foot forward and became one of the oldest champions ever made, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, it's kind of hard to believe what the odds are when you can, break all and beat all the odds that's on you, you know what I'm saying? So that's what makes boxing such a special sport is that you can, one punch can always change a whole fight, and then that no matter how old you are. But like I said, it's just all about health, and if you being smart about your health and being able to perform like, with the younger guys who's coming out and they coming out to, prove themselves and fight with their heart out,
And so, obviously you maintain your championship, but what are your, your career goals? What do you have left to accomplish? What do you, what going forward? What are the things that you want to, do in the sport before you eventually hang them up?
Well, I got to break some records. I got to figure out when I'm able to break, what kind of records I'm able to break, and just work towards that now and just defending like I said, my belt with pride and be able to accomplish more in boxing. Who knows what it might be. So, the sky, I go beyond the sky now. The sky was the limit before when you become a champion, and then once you're the champion, you got to go beyond the sky to be accomplished whatever you want to accomplish. I want to be in touch with my community a little bit. It's a lot of things happening in Grand Rapids. God rest a young guy's name is Anthony. It's my mother's friend, best friend at years back. Her son has been just found in the alley and somebody murdered him. I just got the word this morning that he just got killed. So, I just want to get back, so much when I come from Grand Rapids, it's so much stuff that makes you want to get out of that place and never go back. But I think where I'm at now in my life, I got to be able to be a voice for, what's going on and just go out there and just show them that I do care. And I just think that everybody should work towards where they want to go. And I'm going to look to be doing that more in the future for myself.
Yeah, and it's always great to see you fighters that do well for yourselves, want to, give back and do what you can for the community. I know we had Andrew Durrell on a couple weeks ago from Flint, which, obviously has a rough time over there as well. And, he's concerned about the community. So it's always nice to see you guys, really showing concern for the place you came from and, and the hard times that they're going through. Jeff, just final thoughts before we wrap up the show here. You gave your thoughts a little bit earlier, but just, where you think he is now and where he can go to in the future.
I mean, it's pretty much like you said. I mean, sky's the limit. I mean, he's already in the history books. Now it's time to try to add more history. And, like I said, I mean, I met Peter a long time ago. And I think that he probably, I don't even know if he had his first pro fight at that time, but I know he didn't have very many fights. And, I mean, very, very nice guy, and it's kind of funny that I found out while he was in New York that he actually was from Grand Rapids, so I think I was out there with Shannon Briggs at that time. I think we were having a press conference for some fight. I'm not sure what fight it was, but...
No, I think he was with the Russian kid. What's his name? The softball.
Oh, Sultan. Maybe I was there to fight Shannon then.
Where were you at?
Was it in Bragamoff? What's his name?
Yeah, Bragamoff. Yeah, so
Sultan Bragamoff.
It was the fight Shannon. No, it was the fight because we didn't fight.
He fought Klitschko.
Was it Klitschko? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he fought the Klitschko brother. Yeah, he was over there.
Yeah.
I fought on the undercard of that fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just remember that's when
you've been
I had really pushed.
That's how you know Jeff is around. It's just everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, and no, the one thing also, he got even more Mayweather attachment. Because my niece made one of your outfits.
Yes, he did. Yes, Tish definitely made my And actually, Tish. Her daughter, Quay, her and my brother got a kid together that I'm hoping that my brother become more of a responsible young man and start becoming a man more than, than when he running around in the streets trying to, I don't know what he looking for, but, the blessings is that, everything can be kept in the family, and I'm just blessed to be able to have, you know, these wonderful people in my life and be able to just promote greatness on me and just shower me with their blessings and with their knowledge. And, you know, that's what it's all about, is spreading the love and sharing it.
You know, actually, I want to ask you one more question. You know, to touch on it. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I said this is a very positive man. I like it.
Yeah, it's
We can't go nowhere if we wasn't like that, man. You know, I just learned that, especially where I'm from. You know, the only people that don't never get to go nowhere is the negative people. You know, and as soon as I started changing my life for the better by being just a positive person, I noticed that I was my own prisoner. I was just release myself, and I was more happy about life and more enthused about what I was able to get and more people that I can get to meet and see and meet.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You know, how important was boxing and that kind of thing to you? You know, because, you know, coming from a difficult situation where a lot of people can go the wrong way, was there something that kept you from, was it boxing that kept you straight and becoming positive and doing good things with your life? And you know, if you didn't have boxing, was there a chance that you could have went and, you know, and been, you know, done negative things in your life and had a rough time?
Well, I have to thank God for all that, because he gave me a powerful will. He put boxing in my life. And, you know, and I'm just blessed with having him in my life. And, you know, he always, you know, I'm just humble, man. You know, like I'm very blessed to be where I'm at. I don't even sometimes give myself enough credit sometimes, you know. So, you know, I'm just, like I said, blessed, and I count my blessings. I'm just a happy guy, you know what I mean? I'm just happy with what I accomplished in life, and I know I still got more work to go, and I'm working hard, like, you know, like I never worked before. And that's what I'm learning, that, you know, every time you step out there, you got to take your work level up a little bit more just to accomplish where you want to be at. You know, when it's only a certain amount of people that want to go to the top of the pyramid, and, you know, the top of the pyramid is cold, it's lonely, and it's a place where only you can understand. And, you know, I think that's where I'm headed at, you know, and I think God is going to put me there for a reason, to be able to inspire people and just keep my blessings showered upon others and sharing the blessings.
You know, and probably, you know, keeping you away from Jeff probably also was a good thing that kept you in the straight and narrow in your life too. So that was probably a positive thing, right, Jeff?
Yeah, good weed.
Good weed. You got.
Now, I could be a troublemaker myself. Jeff should probably be careful.
All right, well, Peter, it's been great having you on the show. We're looking forward to February 9th. It's going to be you and Fernando Guerrero, also Danny Garcia and Zab Judah, so it's going to be a great card there in Brooklyn. Tell the folks where they can keep up with you on Twitter and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes. No, first, if you can't get me on none of my Twitter or Instagram, you can go to my website, www.thekidchocolate.com. They got all my tabs for my links, but if not, go to Twitter, Chocolate KO. Or Kid Chocolate, I'm sorry. You can also add me on Instagram, Instagram/Kid Chocolate. What's most important is that y'all tune in to the fight on Showtime February 9th, seeing me defend my belt. And y'all should see my 300-pound girlfriend sitting ringside. She's going to take up about 4 chairs, and I'm going to buy all the tickets for those ringside. But thank y'all for having me on, and I'm blessed to have y'all bring me on.
I appreciate it. Jeff, anything else you want to add before we let him go?
Not really. That's pretty much it. I can sign them off.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it before you sign them off, but yeah, just thanks so much for joining us. We were looking forward to the fight, and love to get you back on. You know, further down the road after you have a few more wins under your belt. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it, and then I'll turn it over to Jeff.
All right.
Well, it's time to go, and it's time for me to say my customary bye. Bye.
All right, Peter, thanks so much for joining us tonight. All right, that's going to about do it. Had Malik Scott on the first half hour. Thanks so much for him. And then we had Peter Quillin right here. Great guest tonight, Jeff. Any final thoughts as we wrap up the show?
Well, no, I think both guys were great in their own way. I mean, I think Peter is very positive, has a great outlook on his future, and I think that Malik is, you know, one of the rare guys out there that's willing to, you know, to take some risks. And, you know, and basically, like he said, I mean, even some of the guys that he's calling out are his friends. And like he said, some of these old need to go, because he don't know necessarily whether it's the promoters or whatever the case may be. But, he just said that, he thinks that, that these guys should fight and find out who's the best American.
It's kind of interesting. They both had different outlooks on the sport. You had, two totally different looks at it. You had Malik Scott saying, who cares about the money, just get in there and fight. And then you had, Peter, saying, I'd fight Triple G, but the money's not right. So, and not saying one's right or wrong, but you definitely had two different outlooks on boxing and how to handle a career.
No, exactly. I mean, and like I said, everybody's different, and that's what we got a chance to see tonight. We got a chance to hear tonight, rather. You had two guys that, because Malik was kind of more, he was more like in the zone, and he was, basically, he was on a rant about the things that are going on, and I can kind of sense that, with him, because it's been a long, long time for him, for now to finally get some just dues or to get some, some notoriety, in his career. And he's at 35-0. He should have already been fighting for a world title, but for some reason it never happened. But now with NBC being back in the boxing business, people gonna know who he is.
All right. Yeah, just both guys seem pretty easy to root for, and we really appreciate having them on tonight. That's going to do it for us. Next week, I'm not going to throw anything out there, but I plan on having a huge show, so be sure to tune in next week. Next Tuesday night, same time. Like I said, we should have a really special show. Check out the site's Pro MMA Insider. Check out Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Mayweather 1. Anything else to add, Jeff? I guess you're getting ready to head to Oklahoma this weekend, right? You got an MMA fight to work with next week.
Yeah. Chemo. Next week. So looking forward to that. And I don't know what I got after that. I think I'm supposed to have Kevin Johnson fighting in February in Canada, but I don't know if the contract is signed or not. So waiting on that, waiting to hear back what's going to happen with that.
All right. It'll be nice to see if we can get a little bit of difference if you guys have a full training camp, and so we're looking forward to that. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up then, Jeff. We appreciate you joining us tonight, and we will talk to you all next week. Take care.
Okay. All right. Bye.